to John May. John May, to please lead us the opening prayer. John May. John May is not responding. May we then listen to an opening prayer to be led to us by Lester. Lester, please.
Okay, let us pray. Yes, Panginoon, salamat na naman po sa napakagandang araw na pinagkaloob niyo sa amin. Salamat po sa mga buhay ng bawat isa nandirito, Panginoon, nag-aaral. Panginoon, gabayan mo po kami, lalong-lalo na po ang aming guro na siyang bibigay sa amin ng lesson, Panginoon. Panginoon, patawarin niyo kami sa aming pagkakasala at binabalik po namin po pagsamba. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, good morning. So before we start the new lesson or the new primary source that we are to examine, I would like to congratulate everyone for taking the last quiz for the preliminary term, and I think most of you passed the quiz. Most of you passed the quiz, and I also would like to congratulate Shelin. Is Shelin part of the class? Shelin Mamawag. Shelin got a perfect score for the second quiz. Okay, so congratulations, Shelin. And for those who got a not so good score, to please continue reviewing those questions because those might appear, okay, in the prelim examination, which is scheduled next week. Your prelim exam was moved to September 28 to 30. So I also have been seeing students. I also have been seeing some of you who are active in our new LMS class, even if it's not our time. That is just an indication that you are really studying the materials being posted there. You're really reading your lessons, and that you are preparing for the prelim examination. I am glad because there are only few who failed the second quiz. Okay, most of you passed it, and that's a good indication that indeed you're helping yourself learn the lessons. You're helping yourself learn independently, and at the same time, you are really self-directed learners as you go through, okay, reading and studying or learning the different lessons in your different courses, especially in this readings in Philippine history. I hope that everyone is okay still, and I hope that everyone is still motivated and still engaged in this kind of online learning modality. And I hope that you're still doing your part as a student, and you're still doing your responsibilities both as learners and as sons and daughters of your respective parents. So today we will be discussing, should I say, the third primary source. We're done with that of Pigafetta's voyage around the world. Then after that, we discussed Placentia's customs of the Tagalogs. And now we proceed to another primary sources, okay, primary sources that would educate us, okay, of the laws, of the functions, and of course of the guiding principles that our early revolutionaries or our early ancestors, okay, particularly members of the Katipunan, is guided off, okay, are guided off, should I say, in their conduct as members of the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, or popularly known as the KKK. So today we will be examining, okay, the Kartilya ng Katipunan, okay, Kartilya ng Katipunan, which was written by no other than Emilio Jacinto. So allow me to share. Before we start our discussion, let me ask you this question. Okay, what is your previous knowledge Okay, what do you know about KKK or about Emilio Jacinto? I believe that you have learned about this. You have learned about this person when you were in elementary because you had Philippine history in the elementary grade levels. Okay, so may I request Joanna to share to us what do you know? Okay, should I say what do you know about Emilio Jacinto or what do you know about KKK? Joanna Maricati, please. Okay, anyone from the class who would like to share his previous knowledge or prior knowledge as regards KKK and Emilio Jacinto?
Sir, ay ako ba?
Yes, Joanna, please.
Sir, yung KKK is kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan na kung
Mhm.
saan si Andres Bonifacio yung founder noong July 7, 1892 sa
Okay.
Tondo, Manila.
Okay, so the founder of KKK is no other than Andres Bonifacio. Okay, that's a good information about KKK. Okay, thank you, Joanna Marie. Okay, Shelin is already part of the class. We congratulate Shelin for perfecting the second quiz. Shelin, congratulations for perfecting the second quiz. You got a perfect score of 25 over 25. Okay, uh, and because you got a perfect score in the second quiz, may we request Shelin to tell us about Emilio Jacinto? Any information about Emilio Jacinto, Shelin? Hi, Shelin. Shelin, please. Okay, Shelin is not responding. May we listen to Prince? Prince, what do you know about Emilio Jacinto? Okay na ba? Is my connection okay already? Shelin? Okay, Shelin? Okay, is my connection okay? Do you receive a good, okay, Gideon, welcome to the class. Shelin, hi, Shelin. Okay. May I request anyone from the class to confirm if my if your reception there or the way you receive me in your computer is not that clear. Hello everyone, is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Um, may we listen to Joanne Marie. We're done with Joanne Marie, no? The last one I called a while back is Prince. Prince. Hello, Prince.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Prince. Anything that you know about Emilio Jacinto?
Wala po, sir.
Wala. Okay. Um, how about Miss Kadapan? Miss Kadapan, what information could you still remember about Emilio Jacinto as being taught by your teachers when you were in elementary?
Hello po,
Yes,
sir.
Ruby.
Ang natatandaan ko lang po is si Emilio Jacinto po is member po siya ng Supreme Council tapos isa po siya sa mga highest ranking officers ng Revolutionary Society.
Okay, so
Yun po, sir.
he's one of the highest ranking official of the Katipunan. Okay, that's right. We will be learning about that later. Okay, so thank you for the sharing. Now we proceed to our discussion about Kartilya ng Katipunan. Okay, so as we have said, today we will be examining the primary source, okay, as regards the guiding principles of every member of the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, or shortly known as the KKK. Mga aral ng katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, and this was authored by no other than one of its highest ranking officials, who is Emilio Jacinto. So that's a drawing or a picture of Emilio Jacinto. Now we proceed to the background of the author. Historians affiliate or uh, tag, Emilio Jacinto as the brain of the Katipunan. He was considered the brain of the Katipunan because he was the one who prepared, who have written the Kartilya ng Katipunan, a guiding principle, okay, for every member of the KKK, and at the same time, he served as a writer, and he also served as the editor in chief of the official publication of the KKK or the Katipunan. Later, we will know what is the name of that official publication. And at the same time, he may be considered the brain of the Katipunan because he studied law, okay, and that most of the writings of Emilio Jacinto, okay, would show his wisdom as regards being a Filipino, and as regards the conduct of a member of the said revolutionary society. And Adricarte, a famous historian, okay, also dubbed Emilio Jacinto as Moses of the Filipino people. Why is the Moses of the Filipino people? Because the Kartilya ng Katipunan is likened to the Ten Commandments. Okay? The Kartilya ng Katipunan, which was written by Emilio Jacinto, was likened to the Ten Tablets, which was found by Moses, as narrated by the Old Testament part of the Bible. Okay, so he's considered Moses of the Filipino people. Epifanio de los Santos acclaimed him the soul of the revolution, ang kaluluwa ng revolusyon, and even the eyes of the Katipunan, mata ng Katipunan. Maaring siya ang tinatawag na mata ng Katipunan dahil nga sa pagiging editor-in-chief niya, ay naisusulat niya o nailalathala niya ang mga pangyayari, ang mga pangyayaring nakikita niya o mga sitwasyong nakikita at naranasan ng mga Pilipino noong panahon na pamumuno ng mga Kastila. He might be considered as the soul of the revolution, because the soul of the revolution, because he was the key person, okay, who was the key strategic person who would usually talk plans, okay, do plans with other members of the Katipunan. So those are the three titles of um, Emilio Jacinto as the presented by historians. Please take note that Emilio Jacinto is the brain of the Katipunan, okay, utak ng Katipunan. Ang utak ng himagsikan ay walang iba kundi si Apolinario Mabini. Okay, so yung pinagkaiba nila. The brain of the Katipunan is Emilio Jacinto. The brain of the revolution is no other than Apolinario Mabini. Please take note also that Emilio Jacinto, okay, is an advisor to Andres Bonifacio, while Apolinario Mabini is an advisor to Emilio Aguinaldo. Okay, so yun yung difference ng dalawa. Now, Emilio Jacinto was born in Trozo, Manila on December 15, 1875. 1875, means to say this was even the time of the Spanish rule already, or colonial rule. His father is Mariano Jacinto, who is a bookkeeper according to Zaide, while according to Epifanio de los Santos is a merchant. Mariano Jacinto, the father of Emilio Jacinto, is a merchant. When you say merchant, a businessman. When you say a bookkeeper, para katulad ng mga trabaho ito ng accountancy graduates, okay? Bookkeeper is usually work of accountancy graduates or those who finish a financial course, okay? So meaning to say, he's a businessman, okay? Para hindi lang tayo malito na bookkeeper siya o merchant siya, basta ang tatay ni Emilio Jacinto ay isang businessman. His mother, Josefa Dizon, okay, is a hilot or midwife. Okay, so yun ang kanyang background. So ibig sabihin, since merchant ang tatay niya and at the same time may trabaho ang nanay niya, so galing sila sa pamilya na merong kaya. Okay, meron naman silang kaya kung titingnan natin ang trabaho ng kanyang mga magulang. That's why, because of his social status, he was able to study in a private school of Maestro Ferrer. So, though before there was no such thing as a public education system or public education, because public education is actually a legacy of the American colonial rule in the Philippines. Private education is the legacy of Spain to the Philippines. Pati mga exclusive schools for boys and girls, okay, legacy yan ng mga Kartilya o ng Spanish government. Jose Dizon, his uncle, enrolled him. Okay, so si uncle niya nagpa-aral din sa kanya and enrolled him at the College of San Juan de Letran for his Bachelor of Art. So this is the main entrance of the College of San Juan de Letran. Okay, yung Bachelor of Arts tumbas ng political science, may mga legal studies, legal management, should I say. Okay, these are examples of Bachelor of Arts. Now, he studied law at the University of Santo Tomas. So, ibig sabihin, may kaya talaga sila dahil nakapag-aral pa siya sa mga ganitong klaseng eskwelahan. Okay? And so the picture you have seen a while back is an old photo of UST. Okay, this is the old UST campus. Okay? He joined KKK in 1894. So, we check kailan siya pinanganak at kailan siya pinanganak at yung taon na ito na 1894, ilang taon pa lang ilang taon pa lang itong si Emilio Jacinto. So, he's very young when he joined, okay, the KKK. So, it's before, during the formation or establishment of the revolutionary government, this revolutionary government are secret societies. Okay, why it has to be a secret society? Because they're still preparing. Okay, they're still preparing for a revolution or for a war against Spain, so that the Philippines would be freed from their colonial rule. And because it's a secret society, hence the necessity that members of the secret society should make use of pen names. Okay, pen names para hindi sila mahalata, para hindi matiklo na sila ay miyembro ng nasabing revolutionary government at ang sa ganun may ipagpatuloy nila ng mabuti na matiwasay ang kanilang mga mithiin, ang kanilang mga plano para patalsikin ang panunungkulan ng mga Kastila sa Pilipinas at para tapusin ang pang-aabuso ng mga Kastila. So they have to make use of pen names. Okay? During that time, the use of pen names would not mean that you are a coward person. But it is just a necessity because if you really would like your plans to push through, then at first, during the planning period, during the planning session, you have to hide yourself para hindi kayo mahuli kaagad at para hindi kayo matigilan kaagad ng kolonyalista o ng mga nang-aabuso. He was the youngest member of the KKK. At 19 years old, he was able to work with positions in the said revolutionary society. So, what are the functions being given to Emilio Jacinto as one of the highest ranking officials of the KKK? So the first one is he was able to be assigned as a fiscal, okay, as a fiscal of the said organization. And when we say fiscal, he is usually assigned for financial matters, okay, for any financial matters, okay, for any financial matter as regards the conduct of the organization. He also served as the secretary, editor of the official publication of the KKK, and later general of the Katipunan. Ito yung lumalaban na o sumasabak na sa laban sa pamuno ng mga Kastila. So these are important functions, these are important positions that Emilio Jacinto was able to have at age of 19 as member of the KKK. Look at this. At age of 19, he was able to contribute many things. He was able to do important functions in the organization. Maybe a question that we have to ask ourselves too. At our age now, what have we done for our country? Okay, sa edad natin ngayon, we look at the age of Emilio Jacinto, who has contributed so much, okay, at very young age, okay, something for the Philippines. Now we have to ask ourselves to what have we been doing for our country? Have we been doing good for our country? Have we been contributing something for the development of our country? Or isa tayo dun sa mga walang ginagawa, yung mga walang kwentang mamamayan ng ating lipunan. So we also have to ask ourselves of such questions. Now, he also has been appointed as the director of the printing shop and library of the Katipunan. And the library contains treatises on tactics and weaponry, French Revolution, and works of demagogues. Okay? And no, we have to understand the context that the library has to contain this kind of books because, again, it's a revolutionary government and they have to learn something on how to defend the country and they have to learn something, some strategies and tactics in order to defeat the Spanish rule or the Spaniards, okay, abusing the Filipino people. This is the seal of Emilio Jacinto kasi doon ang mga miyembro ng isang organisasyon ay may kanya-kanyang seal, may kanya-kanyang seal, simbolo, okay, na ginagamit. At ito ang seal ni Emilio Jacinto. Okay? When they have the forces in Manila, Morong, Bulacan, and Nueva Ecija. He was proclaimed Generalissimo of the North or punong hukbo sa Hilagaan. So malaking sakop ni Emilio Jacinto bilang isang general ng KKK o ng Katipunan dahil pinagkatiwala sa kanya ni Andres Bonifacio ang buong hukbo ng Hilaga, ang buong Hilagang hukbo, that is Northern Luzon. He was the advisor of the Supremo, and the Supremo that we're referring here is no other than Bonifacio. Okay? Furnished Bonifacio with weapons, money, printing materials, and musical compositions. Please take note. Sabi nila, what is the type of government that the Philippines have? Okay, that the Philippines have. Ang tanong ay hindi siya a democratic form of government, but we have a monarchical form of government if we are to consider that of Bonifacio okay, as being the Supremo of the KKK or Katipunan, and being Supremo would mean being the king, hence a monarchical form of government. Actually, the first government leader of the Philippines is not Aguinaldo, but Bonifacio. Okay? Please take note of that. Ito yung mga usual na common mistake natin as learners of history, that we were made to believe that Emilio Aguinaldo is the first president of the Philippines or first government leader of the Philippines. But books would tell us, historians would tell us, those who did researches, those who completed studies as regards Bonifacio and Aguinaldo would tell us that Juan Andres Bonifacio was the first government leader of the Philippines. Government leader means sa kabuuan, yung buong bansa. Okay, si Bonifacio ang pinakaunang leader ng ating gobyerno pamahalaan. But another background that we have to know about Emilio Jacinto is that he's the editor of the newspaper Kalayaan. So the revolutionary government has its official publication, and that publication is called as Kalayaan. Okay, the official publication propaganda movement, that of Rizal, Del Pilar, and others, is what we call as the La Solidaridad. For the KKK, they have the Kalayaan as the official publication. The works of the writings of Emilio Jacinto is being influenced by the following. It's influenced by La Solidaridad, the official publication of the propaganda movement, particularly of the Ilustrados in Spain. Kapag sinabi natin mga Ilustrados, ito yung mga mestizo, ito yung mga Pilipinong may kaya, okay na nakapag-aral sa ibang bansa, particularly in Spain. Kapag ikaw ay isang individual na kayang mapag-aral ng kanyang pamilya sa ibang lugar, okay, sa Spain during that time, then you are called as Ilustrados. So, these Ilustrados were the ones who initiated the propaganda movement, and there, as I have said, and their official publication is what we call as La Solidaridad. His thesis, his writings, is also influenced by Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo and Dr. Morga's successors. Please take note that Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo are novels written by Rizal. You learned when you were in high school the meaning of Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. The Noli Me Tangere, the novel Noli Me Tangere would tell us about a person who is considered enemy of the church. Okay, kaya tinawag na Tangere, okay? Erehe, from the term erehe, okay, touch me not, pasabong erehe, kaaway ng simbahan. While El Filibusterismo is a novel that pertains about an individual who is an enemy of the government. Kaya pag sa filibustero, na mapanahon na iyan, pag sa filibustero, ibig sabihin kaaway ka ng gobyerno. Kaya kung makikita natin ang pinagkaiba ng Noli Me Tangere at El Filibusterismo, bagamat ang pagpapatuloy ng Noli Me Tangere matatagpuan sa El Filibusterismo, ipinapakita dito kung paano nabago si Ibarra from kaaway ng simbahan hanggang sa naging kaaway ng pamahalaan. From herehe to filibustero. And of course, Dr. Morga's successors, Dr. Morga is about, he wrote about the situations in the Philippines in the Spanish times. Okay, so these are all the influences, literary influences of Emilio Jacinto. Aside from these papers and these novels, another influence to Emilio Jacinto's literary writings are the following. Are also the period, it's also the period of the greatest effervescence and prestige of Spanish poetry in the island. So it was during that time also that there's a boost, or there's a boost, okay, in the Spanish poetry in the Philippine Islands. Hence, this Spanish poetry became an inspiration, okay, to Emilio Jacinto to write his literary works. And of course, Rizal, okay, Rizal served as his moral and literary idol, while Marcelo H. Del Pilar became Emilio Jacinto's political idol. Okay, so yun ang kanyang mga idolo, okay, ng mga Pilipino ni Emilio Jacinto. Kaya kung titignan natin maya-maya yung nilalaman ng Kartilya, ito talaga, ang Kartilya talaga nagpapatunay na itong tatlong impluensyang ito ang nakaapekto kay Emilio Jacinto para masulat niya ng mabuti ang nasabing Kartilya ng Katipunan. Emilio Jacinto died from malaria on April 16, 1899 at very young age of 23. Ang bata niya namatay, no? Because of malaria. At that time, wala pang gamot sa malaria ng mga panahon na iyan. So, ang larawang nakikita ninyo ay ang actual na larawan ni Emilio Jacinto nung siya ay namatay. Tapos si Emilio Jacinto nung siya po ay namatay. Sakit na malaria. Isang uri, ang sakit ng malaria ay nagmumula sa lamok. Okay? So, uso ang malaria noon. Wala pang lunas ang malaria. Okay, kaya itong si Emilio Jacinto ay namatay o nabawian ng buhay. Now, we now proceed to the historical background of the document. That aside from the ill treatment experiences felt by Katipuneros under the Spanish rule, there were other influencing factors causing the creation of the Katipunan and the conceptualization of Kartilya. Paano nabuo ang Katipunan? Bakit binuo ang Katipunan ni Andres Bonifacio? At paanong nabuo naman ang tinatawag natin ngayong primaryang batis na Kartilya? Yun ang ating aalamin as historical background of the document. Please take note that one of the influences of the coming of a revolutionary government, revolutionary groups in the Philippines was because of this type of period in Europe. And that period is an Enlightenment period. The Enlightenment period is inspired by Immanuel Kant's definition of what enlightenment is when he said, dare to know, have courage to use your own reason. Because during that time, during the exploration time and colonial time, okay, powerful countries control their colonies, should I say, their colonies, and most often people people in their colonies would just follow whatever is being said to them by their colonial masters. Okay, yun yung mga nangyayari noon. And it was because of these controls, it was because of the control of the powerful countries in their colonies that inspired people, okay, to make use of their own reason, okay, to complain about the abuses, to complain about discrimination, to complain about unjust practices of these colonial rulers or colonial government. Okay? And this paved the way to the coming of the Enlightenment period in Europe. Panahon ng kaliwanagan. Ibig sabihin, nagliwanag o na-realize ng mga tao sa colonies ng mga powerful countries na ito na dapat hindi sila nagpapakontrol o sa pamumuno ng mga nasabing kolonyalista. Okay? And enlightened rationality gave way. It's because of the enlightenment and that enlightened rationality to make our own reason, to decide for ourselves, and not to be abused and not to be enslaved by foreign rule, that gave way to the rise of romanticism. What do you mean by romanticism? Okay? When you say romanticism, that parang we are finding value, we look for the positive things, amid adversities or amid difficult situations. Yung by romanticism. Okay, so philosophical movement characterized chiefly by a reaction against what is classical, and that our reaction is being emphasized by our imagination and by our emotions. That's what we mean by romanticism. During this period of the Enlightenment period, secret societies like the Freemasons, the Bavarian Illuminati, the Rosicrucian flourished. Coffee houses, newspapers, and literary salons emerged as the new venues for ideas to circulate. Because most of the countries then, okay, during those times are controlled by colonial rule, and that people were motivated and that people were enlightened of making use of their own reason to decide for themselves amidst this colonial rule. Okay? Dito nabuo yung iba't ibang klase ng mga pangkat, okay, na ang kanilang mithiin ay magamit ang kanilang pagrarason o magamit ang kanilang sariling utak nang sa ganon ay mapatalsik ang pamamahala ng mga panyaga sa kanilang lugar. Now, it was also during the Enlightenment period that the French Revolution took place. Please take note that France has been controlled by that France became a colonial rule also of other countries. And it was because of their disgust to colonial rule that the French Revolution of 1789 took place. Okay, it was the high Enlightenment vision of throwing out old authorities to remake society along rational lines. When you say also authorities, if the government is not that functioning well, if government are too abusive, then people have to make use of their own reason to overthrow, okay, this kind of authority, this kind of rule, to remake their society and to recreate the society becoming a better one. And a legacy of the Age of Enlightenment is the motto Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, or what we call as liberty, equality, and fraternity, inspired by the French Revolution. Liberty is freedom, democracy. Equality, fraternity is brotherhood. That we have to unite for an equal community and a community free from foreign rule, free from abusive rule or discriminating rule. The ideas of Enlightenment and the French Revolution, paano nakarating? Paano nakarating ngayon ang ideya ng kaliwanagan o ideya ng paggagamit ng sariling pagrarason, paggagamit ng sariling utak na para ipaglaban ng kalayaan? Paano nakarating ito sa Pilipinas? Okay? Now, the French Revolution inspired the Ilustrados because we have plenty of Filipino scholars, okay, who studied in Spain during that time, during the Enlightenment period. And because they were there, these Ilustrados were there, the likes of Rizal, Marcelo del Pilar, Graciano Lopez Haina, Teodoro Plata, Haina, who else? And other known Filipinos, okay, because they studied in Spain, okay, they were able to learn about the French Revolution, about Europeans fighting for their freedom and others, and this inspired the Filipino Ilustrados to write something about this. Hence the establishment of La Solidaridad, or what we call now as the official publication of the propaganda movement. Please take note that anong pinagkaiba ng propaganda movement sa revolutionary government, revolutionary movement. Ang pinagkaiba ng dalawang ito ay sa KKK, they would like to overthrow, or they would like to be, the revolutionary government would like to when you say revolution, it's about overthrowing the government itself. Kumbaga, pag-class laban sa gobyerno, laban sa pamahalaan, laban sa banyagang pamumuno, nang sa ganun ay maging malaya ang nasabing lugar. Okay? So, ang gusto ng mga revolusyonista ay kalayaan mula sa pamumuno ng mga Kastila. Samantalang ang mga propaganda movement, they are just seeking for reform. Pagbabago lang, reformation lang. Okay, yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa. The propagandists are requesting Spain to recognize the country, to recognize our country, or then, the Philippines then, to be a province of Spain, but not as a colony of Spain. Magkaiba kasi yun. Kapag kolonya ka ng isang powerful na lugar, ibig sabihin ay wala kang karapatan. Ang karapatan ng alipin ang tingin sa mga taong nakatira sa kolonya. Pero kapag ang Pilipinas ay gagawing probinsya o province ng Spain, then that would mean that whatever the rights being enjoyed by Spaniards would also be the same right to be enjoyed by the Filipinos if in case Philippines will be considered as a province. And that is what the Ilustrados, that is what the propagandist is requesting for, is seeking for Spain to recognize Philippines as its province and not as its colony. Pero sa tingin naman ng mga revolusyonista ng KKK, okay, para matigil na lahat, paalisin natin ang mga Kastila sa Pilipinas, we have to rule our own government as Filipinos. And these two events in the globe, French Revolution, Enlightenment period, and others, okay, paved the way, okay, for Filipinos to be encouraged to take up a stand for reforms and later independence. Reform is for propaganda movement, independence is for the revolutionary movement. Books from Europe easily reach the Philippines through the Suez Canal. Dati mahirap makarating mga libro sa Pilipinas. Remember that the printing press and other things in the and new inventions then, okay, new inventions then were at the started in Europe, and that these inventions and others cannot easily reach, okay, other places in the world, okay, because of limitation in transportation. But it was because of the creation of Suez Canal. Suez Canal is Suez Canal is a man-made, okay, a man-made pass through or a passage through, okay. Ang ginawa nila is dyan po sa check natin kung project po sa inyo, kung I'll try to check kung ano ang ibig sabihin, kung saan ang Suez Canal, okay? Ipakita ko sa map. Okay. I'll show you the Suez Canal. Okay, so the Suez Canal is actually, okay, a man-made pass through. Okay, it's a man-made waterway, okay, in Egypt, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Check natin yung map. Okay, Suez Canal map. Okay, para makita ninyo kung nasaan siya. Okay. Okay, I am to share to you. Okay. We look at this. Okay. This is the Suez Canal that we are referring to. Okay, the Suez Canal. It is a waterway connecting itong Suez Canal. A waterway connecting that of African continent, the Mediterranean Sea. This is the Mediterranean Sea. This area is the Mediterranean Sea, connecting it to the Red Sea. Land kasi yan, parang walang mabilis sa pamamaraan, okay? Walang mabilis sa pamamaraan noon, okay? Para makarating ang transportasyon o makarating ang mga produkto ng iba't ibang kontinente sa Asia, okay? Kundi pamamaraan lamang ng paggawa ng Suez Canal. So, ito yung Suez Canal, okay? From dito papasok sa Suez Canal, no? It's a land there. Okay, land yan, connecting this area, this part of Asia. Okay, so gumawa sila, binagbutas sila dito, gumawa sila ng waterway dito from this is the Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, should I say Mediterranean Sea, and this is the Red Sea. Okay, gumawa sila ng waterway, okay, nang sa ganun ay tuloy-tuloy. Okay, tuloy-tuloy ang paglalakbay ng barko o paglalakbay ng sasakyang pangdagat, okay, from Mediterranean Sea to Red Sea. Then punta ka dito sa Indian Ocean hanggang makarating iyan sa Pilipinas o sa iba pang mga parte o bahagi ng bahagi ng ng Asia. Okay? So ganun nga po ang nangyari. Okay? So it was because of the creation of the Suez Canal that paved way to the reaching of Enlightenment ideas, or even books about French Revolution, or about overthrowing a foreign rule to the Philippines. Now, it was because of that there's the coming of Masonry in the Philippines. In 1856, Freemasonry was introduced in the Philippines. However, native Filipinos were not allowed to join the organization. But in 1889, Graciano Lopez Haina organized the Lohia Revolucion in Barcelona. But this kind of Masonry group was organized in Spain. Kasi medyo open ang pag nasa Spain ka, everyone has similar rights, everyone has similar privileges if you're part or if you are studying in Spain. Kaya nakabuo itong si Graciano Lopez Haina ng isang masonry, o kaya tinawag niyang Lohia Revolucion. Okay? And through the support of the Grande Oriente Espanyol, hence the root of two Philippine Masonry. So the first Filipino organized Masonry in the Philippines was that of Graciano Lopez Haina, called as Lohia Revolucion in Barcelona. This is a picture of Graciano Lopez Haina. Then later on, Pedro Serrano Lactau, with the help of Moises Salvador, initiated in Madrid, and Jose A. Ramos initiated in London, organized another Masonry, and that is Lohia Nilad, and it was approved by the Grande Oriente Espanyol as Lohia Nilad number 144 on March 20, 1892. This is Pedro Serrano Lactau. As the fraternity grew, the Spanish friars, nalaman ng mga kung hindi pwedeng maging miyembro ng Masonry ang mga Pilipino, mga native Filipinos sa Philippines, then nakagawa ng paraan ang mga ilustrados, nakagawa ng paraan ang mga tao, mga Pilipino nag-aaral sa Spain. Kaya nakabuo sila ng sariling Filipino organized or Filipino established Masonry. Okay? And this feared the Spanish friars. They were alarmed on this because they know what Masonry is. That a Masonry would seek or would really seek for reformation, would seek for overthrowing a government or a certain rule. Okay? Hence, the Spanish friars considered Filipino Masons as insurrectos. Pag sabing insurrectos, ito yung mga kaaway, ito yung mga lumalaban sa gobyerno. Isang revolutionista. Kumbaga, revolutionista, ito ang tawag noon mga insurrectos. Masons were arrested, tortured, and exiled. This event became the voice of freedom and democracy. And because if you're a member of a Masonry, if you're a Mason, then and because you were considered insurrectors, then you could be arrested, you could be tortured and exiled. And because of this torture and arrest, that motivated Filipinos to really seek for freedom and democracy from Spain. Most prominent personalities in the Katipunan were members of the Masonry. So, ibig sabihin, ang Katipunan, ang naging motivation ng Katipunan para mabuo ay yung mga miyembro din nito ng miyembro ng mga Masonry. The influence of this fraternity to the members were very evident in the Kartilya written by Emilio Jacinto. We will later look at the content of the Kartilya. During the Revolution, the Spanish friars believed that the root of all the problems was Masonry and Katipunan. Katipunan as considered by the friars as huwad sa Masonaria. So, it's a fake Masonry daw ang Katipunan, sabi ng mga Spaniards. Jesuit Francisco Foradada wrote in his book that Filipino filibusterism or subversion was not the son of righteousness, morality, or justice, but of Masonry, the enemy of God. So, ginawang kaaway daw ng Diyos ang isang Mason, o kaaway ng Diyos ang any member of a Masonry or a revolutionary government. Now, the death of Gomburza in 1872, you remember the Gomburza, we will later learn about the Gomburza, okay? Yung sa nangyari sa Cavite, ito malalaman natin ang kwento ng Gomburza. The death of Gomburza in 1872 awakened strong feelings of anger and resentment among the Filipinos because these three, the Gomburza, okay, were, ito ang hindi Gomburza, no? These are members of the propaganda movement. This is Graciano Lopez Haina, this is Gregorio del Pilar, this is Jose Rizal. Mukhang kahawig ko si Jose Rizal, okay? So si Jose Rizal, Graciano Lopez Haina, and Gregorio del Pilar, the brother of Marcelo del Pilar. The Filipino Listrados aimed for reforms, as I have said a while back, and so they created a systematic movement, and they used the peaceful means of battling the Spanish government called the propaganda movement. The propaganda movement battles the Spanish government through pen, through their writings, gamit ang pluma, ang KKK gamit ang sibak. Okay? Kaya yung tanong na, which is mightier, a pen or a sword? Okay? Which is mightier, a pen or a sword? We listen to the answer of your classmates about the question. Okay? Which do you think is mightier, a pen or a sword? We listen to, may we listen now to Shalene. Shalene, which is mightier, Shalene? A pen or a sword? Hello? Okay, class, naririnig niyo po ba ako?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sa tingin niyo alin ang
Sir.
mas makapangyarihan, ang paggamit ng pluma o ang paggamit ng sibak? Nung panahon ng Spanish rule, alin ang mas makapangyarihan, ang paggamit ng sibak o paggamit ng pluma? Sige, pag-isipan ninyo muna. Tapos, balik ako mamaya. Mayroon akong gagawin din sa likod. Okay, may kukunin lang ako. Ngayon, pag-isipan ninyo in 5 minutes, no? Pag-isipan ninyo which is mightier. O, pwede nyo i-type yung sagot niyo sa chat box. Okay? I'll try to encode which is mightier. I'll encode it here. Which is mightier. A pen or a sword? I already have encoded the question. Okay, the question in the chat box. Those who are ready to answer just have to encode your answer or send me your answer through the chat box so I can read it and we can share our ideas as regards it. Okay, anyone who's ready, just please type your answer to the question or I'll call someone. Okay, so we will listen later to the following. The others, you may type it using the chat box, but later I will ask the following to share their answer. Okay, you have to enable your video later, your camera and your microphone later to share. In few minutes, I'll be asking you to share. May we listen to Camila May. Okay, Camila will share her answer later. Gideon and Fredelyn. Again, Fredelyn, Gideon, and Camila will share their answer to the question, which is mightier, a pen or a sword. Alin ang mas makapangyarihan sa paggamit ng kalayaan, ang pluma o ang sibak? Okay, are these people whom I have called a while back ready now to answer the question or to share their answer to the question? Okay. So while we are to wait for them, we have the following answers from your classmates. Laila said, "A pen because it can achieve more through the power of writing, wherein writing is for long term, while sword is short-lived." Okay. The use of sword is short-lived, while the use of pen, the influence of our writings would live forever. That was according to Laila. Eris said, "Sir, sa tingin ko po, mas makapangyarihan po ang pen. Kasi po, yung kapag yung sword po ang ginagamit, it will just end up in violence and then tapos, sir, parang it will just bring death, loss, and destruction. While yung pen, sir, long-lasting effect, yung mga writings, sir, will serve as an inspiration sa lahat." Okay, that's a good point, Eris. And Laila said, "A pen because it can achieve more through the power of writing." Similar answer a while back. Okay, these are good inputs as regards the question. How about the others who would like to share also? Anyone to share their answer to the said question? Yung tinawag ko kanina, ready ba magbahagi? Okay, yung tinawag ko kaninang tatlong estudyante. Ready na ba? Okay, sabi ni Fiola, according to Fiola, for me, pen is mightier than sword po, sir. Kasi po, a sword can only, a sword can only, a sword can only, ano yun? A sword can only hurt your physical body, pero a pen can hurt the whole aspect of your body. Because when someone tells you or writes something about that is not good or not okay, this can change your mood and it can also ruin your life. Okay, it's a good point too. Sabi ni Master, para po sa akin, mas makapangyarihan po yung pen kesa sword. Kasi po yung words po mas malakas ang impact. Nagtatagal po kaysa sword na hindi nagtatagal yung damage. Okay, parang katulad nung sasabi natin na may kanta dyan na yung words, ano yung kanta about it? Words can bring a person down or can also lift a person up. Okay? Ang sabi naman ni Heaven, a pen because the power of pen is stronger than the power of war or conflict. Sabi ni Prince, pen rin po sa akin, sir, kasi nakaka-inspire po through writing. Ang makakatulong po nakatutulong pa po to sa sword kasi, sir, parang pag nakipaglaban ka, walang realization, tapos mag-lead pa sa violence. That's a good point. Ezekiel said, pen is mightier than sword because a simple word can change a person's mind or mood. Okay, sabi nga nila, sir, words cut deeper than a knife. Good, Eris. That's a good passage. Words cut deeper than a knife. Okay, kaya nga, di ba ngayon, pwede mo na reklamo ang tao na kung ano sinasabi sa iyo, because if that is too hurting, if words are too hurting, then that is a form of violence. Sir, for me, pen is mightier than the sword kasi po the power of writing can change people's opinions and it's long-lasting. Sir, while yung sword po, sir, can only change person's opinion by force and it can lead to violence. That was according to Camila. And Gideon said, sir, sorry po, mahina connection ko. Okay, no problem. Then, Angel Marie said, the pen is stronger po kasi pag sword, it can kill and can lead to death. Pag pen po, can be motivation and can last longer. Sabi ni Regeline, a wise man fights using knowledge while violence using a sword does result in any good. Pen po, sagot ko, sir, kasi mas makapangyarihan pa rin po ang utak ang gamitin. Okay? You have good inputs regards the question, which is mightier, a pen or a sword. But of course, during their time, both the pen and the sword have helped our early ancestors to really fight for freedom, because it's also through the writings of the Ilustrados that inspired the Katipuneros to work hard for revolution, to work hard for our freedom. And I think both were used appropriately for the freedom that we are enjoying now. Thank you for your responses. Those are good responses as regards the question. Now, we continue our discussion, okay? Ang sabi natin yung propaganda movement, okay, inspired Bonifacio and other radicals to establish the Katipunan and set the Philippine Revolution in place. So, yung sabi natin, both media have been used by our early ancestors, by Ilustrados and revolutionaries to really, okay, fight for our freedom, to really struggle for our freedom. Okay? How about the La Liga and the Puerto de Compromisarios? In 1892, Jose Rizal arrived home, and with the support of the Masonic leaders, he established the La Liga Filipina. However, he was arrested and soon deported to the Dapitan. Kasi sabi natin, kapag bumuo ka ng isang masonry, okay, ng isang mason, okay, pwede kang makulong. And Rizal, because of his establishment of La Liga Filipina, okay, and because of his writings also, okay, that made the Spanish government to arrest him, and that he was deported to the Dapitan. Andres Bonifacio and other members of Logia Taliba saw Rizal's deportation as a sign that reforms were no longer attainable. Sabi na, because Rizal was already deported, Rizal was already exiled. So meaning to say, deported and arrested, meaning to say our reformation, our purpose for reformation will never be materialized. Hence, we have to go for revolution. That's why, okay, he conceptualized a new secret society called the Katipunan, okay, to advocate separation from Spain. Separation from Spain is what the KKK is asking for. It's really separation. No more Spanish rule. No more Spanish colonial government. Should be Filipinos running their own government already. Okay, kasi nakita nga niya na mukhang hindi na kaya yung reformation, that Philippines will be considered instead not as a colony, but as a province of Spain. That's why in 1892, July 7 of 1892, the KKK has been established by Bonifacio. On April 3, 1893, Andres Bonifacio Logia Taliba, Domingo Franco, and Apolinario Mabini, both of Logia Balagtas in Bulacan, led the revival of the Liga Filipina. Nagkaroon ng Liga Filipina. 6 months after the Liga's revival, two factions emerged. One that wanted to continue the aim of peaceful reforms, and the other which advocated the overthrow of the colonial government. In October 1893, the Liga was dissolved. So there's Liga Filipina. But because of the two factions within that Liga, within that organization, okay, that organization was dissolved. Because the other group, Okay, look for the other group is aiming for peaceful reforms, while the other group is aiming for overthrow of the colonial government. At dahil di sila nagkasundo sa lithin na gusto nila mangyari, nawala din bigla ang Liga Filipina. Mabini is Mabini. Mabini and other moderates formed the Puerto de Compromisarios. They tried to continue sending funds to finance the propaganda movement in Spain. However, most of the members became increasingly disappointed over the apathy of the central government in Madrid because that time, Ilustrados, the propagandists in Spain, okay, have been requesting the central government in Madrid, the central Spanish government in Madrid, to listen to their plea, okay, and to listen to their request that the Philippines be considered as a province to Spain. But because that time, we also have to understand that time Spanish government is also quite challenged by the situations in Spain. Kaya hindi nila pagtuunan ng pansin ang mga pinagsasabi o mga request ng ating mga propagandists, ng ating mga ilustrados. Some Filipinos were convinced that separation from Spain was only the alternative. And because the central government in Spain did listen to the plea of the ilustrados, did listen to the plea of the propagandists, this made Filipinos realize that maybe reformation would no longer be that effective. And the only alternative that we could do is to seek for separation of the Philippines from Spain. Hence, united with the radical movement, Katipunan of Bonifacio, Arellano, and Plata, the Katipunan the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, okay, was founded by three prominent people, that of Bonifacio, Arellano, and Plata. Tatlo sila. Kaya ginawa nila yung tinatawag nating para dumami sila, bawat isang miyembro ay dapat mag-recruit din ng tatlo pa. So, 3 ang recruitment. So, kaya dumami ang miyembro ng nasabing revolutionary government. Okay, so that's the context. That's the context of the Kartilya ng Katipunan, kung paano nabuo ang Katipunan at bakit nagkaroon ng Katipunan at paano naisulat ang Kartilya ng Katipunan na isinulat nga ni Emilio Jacinto. Now we proceed to the content presentation. Please take note that the Kartilya ng Katipunan has 14 points. So there are 14 points. There are 14 important points that we have to consider. The first one, sabi niya, ang kabuhayang hindi ginugugol sa isang malaki at banal na kadahilanan ay kahoy na walang lilim kundi damong makamandag. In English it says, a life that is not dedicated to a noble and divine cause is like a tree without a shade, if not a poisonous weed. And as members of the Katipunan, then every Katipunero should seek for freedom. Every Katipunero should seek for Philippine separation from Spain. And that is the sole purpose of the Katipunan. Kapag wala kang purpose sa buhay mo, kapag wala kang kadahilan kung bakit ka nabubuhay, ay para kang katulad ng isang puno na walang dahon, okay, na wala man lang lilim na may bigay sa kapwa-tao niya. Thank you. Okay. So that's the point. Okay? Well, sabi nga natin, if you really would like to live life to the fullest, then that living should be anchored to your very purpose, why you live. Similarly, with the online learning modality, we have to ask ourselves, should I still continue learning in online modality? I was challenged. There are many challenges in online learning modality, but we have to ask ourselves now, what is my purpose? Why did I enroll? And that purpose should permanently be holding you for you to be able to successfully finish your course and for you to be able to successfully finish your studies in the university. Okay, the first one. The second one, it says, ang gawang magaling na nagbubuhat sa pagpipita sa sarili at hindi sa talagang nasang gumawa ng kagalingan ay di kabaitan. In English, a deed that is motivated by self-interest or self-pity and done without sincerity lacks nobility. Ang gawang magaling na nagbubuhat sa pagpipita sa sarili at hindi sa talagang nasang gumawa ng kagalingan ay hindi kabaitan. And that time, the Katipuneros were one, saying that we are doing this not of our self-interest, but of the whole, okay, Filipino community. Minsan sa buhay, hindi lamang yung sarili nating interest ang ating iisipin. Minsan titingnan natin din yung interest ng nakararami should I say, ng nakararami. Okay? Dahil kung puro sarili natin ating iniisip, maaaring makatapak tayo ng ibang tao o makapanira tayo ng dignidad ng ibang tao. Ngunit kung isipin natin lagi, sabi ni Emilio Jacinto, ay yung kailangan na nakararami, yung mga bagay-bagay na makatutulong sa nakararami, then that is what we have to do. Third, ang tunay na kabanalan ay ang pagkakawang gawa, ang pag-ibig sa kapwa, at ang isukat ang bawat kilos, gawat pangungusap sa talagang katwiran. In English it says, true piety is the act of being charitable, loving one's fellow men, and being judicious in behavior, speech, and deed. Okay? What is being holy? Okay? And Emilio Jacinto would explain us to that. So I would explain us that being holy, okay, is about being charitable. It's about helping others. It's about extending ourselves to others. It's about sharing ourselves to others because we know that they need us, and we also know that we need them back. Okay? So that was according to Emilio Jacinto. Okay? Napakagandang mga aral ang binibigay sa atin ni Emilio Jacinto sa kanyang Kartilya ng Katipunan. Fourth, maitim man at maputi ang kulay ng balat, lahat ng tao'y magkakapantay. Mangyayaring ang isa'y higtan sa dunong, sa yaman, sa ganda, ngunit hindi mahihigtan sa pagkatao. In English it says, all people are equal, regardless of the color of their skin. While one could have more education, wealth, or beauty than the other, none of them can overpass one's identity. It's always our being human. It's always our individualities, our who we are, okay, that sets our equality with others. Okay? So wala yan sa kulay ng ating balat. Wala yan sa kulay ng ating wala yan sa klase ng edukasyon na meron tayo. And others. Okay? Number 5, ang may mataas na kalooban, inuuna ang puri sa pagpipita sa sarili. Ang may hamak na kalooban, inuuna ang pagpipita sa sarili sa puri. Anong ibig sabihin nun in English? A person with a noble character values honor above self-interest, while a person with a base character values self-interest above honor. Okay? Values base interest, base character. Okay? So ibig sabihin nito ay if we really have that noble character values, okay? We do not do things because of our self-interest, because of our selfish acts, because of our selfish purpose. But rather, it's based on helping people. 6, sa taong may hiya, salita'y panunumpa. To a person that respects, his or her word is a pledge. Kapag meron kang paggalang sa kapwa mo, okay, kung anong sinabi mo, gagawin mo. Kung anong sinumpaan mo, gagawin mo. Number 7, huwag mong sasayangin ang panahon. Ang yamang nawalay, mangyayaring magbalik. Ngunit panahong nagdaan ay di na muli pang magdadaan. Do not waste your time. Lost wealth can be retrieved, but time lost is forever. You know, we should not allow, anong application ito sa current situation? We should not allow ourselves now, we should not allow the pandemic to stop us from dreaming, to stop us from working for our dreams, to stop us from doing something, to exert our effort for our dreams to happen. Okay? Kaya nga, di ba? Schools now, okay, schools cannot afford doing academic freeze because they believe in the power of education. They believe that everyone is supposed to continue their learning amidst the current situation. We are challenged by internet connection. We are challenged by so many things in this online learning modality. But you know, since we are given that time, a chance to continue our studies amidst the pandemic, then we make use of this chance because lost wealth can be retrieved, but time lost is lost forever. Ipagtanggol mo ang inaapi at kabakahin ang umaapi. Defend the oppressed and fight the oppressor. We should be advocates. We should all be advocates of of non-abuse, advocates of non-discrimination, advocates of respect and others. 9. Ang taong matalino'y ang may pag-iingat sa bawat sasabihin at matutong ipaglihim ang dapat ipaglihim. A wise man is someone who is careful in all that he says. Learn to keep the things that he needs to be kept secret. Bakit napakahalaga ito sa mga katipunero? Dahil hindi kailangan matiklo. Kailangan manatili silang tahimik at kailangan hindi sila matiklo ng pamahalaang Kastila na meron silang ginagawa laban sa kanila. Kaya nang isama ito bilang gabay o bilang mga aral ng Kartilya. Sa daang matinik ng kabuhayan, lalaki ang siyang patnugot ng asawa at mga anak. Kung ang umaakay ay tungo sa sama, ang patutunguhan ng inaakay ay kasamaan din. In the thorny path of life, the man leads the way and his wife and children follow. If the leader goes the way of evil, so do the followers. This part of the Kartilya would tell us yung sitwasyon noon na ang pananaw nila sa lalaki ay dapat ang lalaki, ang asawang lalaki, ang laging lider ng pamilya, ang laging pinuno ng pamilya. Yun ang paniniwala nila noon. Pero ngayon, sa panahon ngayon, nagbago na po iyan. Na a woman can also be, a wife can also be the leader of the family. Hindi lamang ang tatay, hindi lamang ang lalaki sa pamilya ang nagiging leader, kundi kahit sino ay pwede maging leader ng pamilya. But during those times, that is how they perceive a man to be. They perceive a husband to be. That a husband should always be the leader of the family. Number 11, ang babae ay huwag mong tignang isang bagay na libangan lamang, kundi isang katuwang at karamay sa kahirapan nitong kabuhayan. Gamitan mo ng buong pagpipitagan ang kanilang kahinaan at alalahanin ang inang pinagbuhatat na giwi sa iyong kasanggulan. So this part of the Kartilya would also tell us that Filipinos or early Filipinos value women. Okay? In English it says, never regard a woman as an object for you to trifle with. Rather, you should consider her as a partner and a friend in times of need. Give proper consideration to a woman's frailty and never forget that your own mother, who brought you forth and nurtured you from infancy, is herself such a person. Okay, yan ang ibig sabihin sa English. Now, bagamat dun sa pang-10 bahagi ng Kartilya ay sinasabi ng lalaki lamang dapat ang maging leader ng pamilya, na nagpapakita na ang pananaw nila sa babae ay katulong lamang ng lalaki, pero dito sa pang-11 sinasabing ang kahalagahan ng babae kung paano dapat tratuhin at galangin ng isang lalaki ang isang babae, dahil nga ang ating mga ina ay babaeng siyang luminang sa atin at siyang nagbigay buhay sa atin. Okay? That's number 11. Number 12, ang di mo ibig na gawin sa asawa mo, anak at kapatid, ay huwag mong gagawin sa asawa at anak ng kapatid ng iba. Don't do to the wife, children, brothers, and sisters of others what you do not want done to your wife, children, and brothers and sisters. This is similar to the golden rule. Okay, that do unto others. Okay, thou shalt not do to others. Thou shalt not do to others those things that you don't want others do unto you. Or in citing it in a positive way, okay, do to others what you want others do unto you. Okay, that's the golden rule. 13. Ang kamahalan ng tao ay wala sa pagkahari, wala sa tangos ng ilong, wala sa puti ng mukha, wala sa pagkaparing kahalili ng Diyos, wala sa mataas na kalagayan sa balat ng lupa. Wagas at tunay na mahal na tao, kahit laking gubat at walang nababatid kundi ang sariling wika, yaong may magandang asal, may isang pangungusap, may dangal at puri, yaong di napapaapit, di nakikiapi, yaong marunong magdamdam at marunong lumingap sa bayang tinubuan. A person's worth is not measured by his or her station in life, neither by the height of his nose, nor the fairness of his skin, and certainly not by whether he is a priest claiming to be God's deputy. Even if he is a tribesman or tribeswoman from the hills and speaks only his or her own tongue or language, A person is honorable if he or she possesses a good character, is true to his or her word, has fine perceptions, and is loyal to his or native land. So this measures an honorable person. If you have a good character, you are true to your word, you have fine perceptions, and at the same time you are loyal to your native land, then you are a noble or honorable person. And last, it says, paglaganap ng mga aral na ito at maningning na sumikat ang araw ng mahal na kalayaan nito sa kabaabang-abang sangkalupaan at sa bugan ng matamis niyang liwanag ang nagkakaisang magkalahit magkakapatid ng ligaya ng walang katapusan. Ang mga ginugol na buhay, pagod at tiniis na kahirapay, labis ng natumbasan. When these teachings, Emilio Jacinto said, shall have been propagated, and the glorious sun of freedom begins to shine on these poor islands and lighten our united race and people, then all the loves lost, all the struggle and sacrifices shall not have been in vain. Kapag ito ay isinakatuparan ng lahat, itong mga aral na ito ay ginawa ng lahat, sabi ni Jacinto, malamang, okay, magkakaisa tayong lahat, at lahat ng mga pag-ibig na nawala, lahat ng paghihirap at sakripisyong ginawa natin para sa ating bansa, okay, ay hindi mawawalang bisa, kundi mabibigyan ng halaga at mabibigyan ng importansya. And we thank these people because we are now enjoying the freedom we have. We are now enjoying our democracy. And because we know their struggles when they fought for our democracy, hence we have to respect and we have to make use of our democracy well. And we should not, sabi nga ng isang American president, we should not ask what the government can do for us, but we also have to ask ourselves always what we can do for our government. Tama na yung puro complaint tayo, tama na yung puro reklamo na lamang tayo. Hindi ba sa panahon ngayon ay dapat tanungin natin ang mga sarili, kahit sa karereklamo natin, tanungin natin ang ating mga sarili, may nagagawa ba ako para sa aking pamilya? May nagagawa ba akong mabuti para sa aking barangay? May nagagawa ba akong mabuti para sa aking lipunan? May nagagawa ba akong mabuti para sa aking bansa? May nagagawa ba akong mabuti para sa buong mundo? We have to ask ourselves that question. Have we been doing something good for the world, for our country, for our community, okay, and for everyone else? The Kartilya ng Katipunan, okay, is a set of lessons that every Filipino should learn, that every one of us should learn. Okay, maybe except for that part, number 10, na sinasabi niyang lalaki lamang ang lider ng pamilya, except for that. Pero hindi natin ang konteksto nilang panahon na iyon ay tungkol sa mga kalalakihan. Okay, wala pang feminism mga panahon na iyon. Pero ngayon, dahil feminism, that there should be women empowerment, then we have to empower all people across genders, whether they are members of the LGBTQIA+, whether they are straight men or straight women, then everybody has to be empowered. Now is the time for empowerment of the different individuals. Okay? What's the contribution to the grand narrative of Philippine history? It serves as a guiding principle for all of us. It enhances sense of nationalism. If we are nationalistic, if we love our country, then we do. We observe the Kartilya ng Katipunan. It advocates anti-enslavement. Kasi sabi niya, do not allow yourself to be enslaved by others. Huwag mong hayaan ang sarili mong alipinin ng iba. Huwag mong hayaan ang sarili mong gawing alipin ng iba. Ikaw ay tao, ikaw ay may sariling pag-iisip, ikaw ay may sariling puso na pwedeng magdesisyon para sa sarili mo. At yung pagdidesisyon na yan ay dapat nakaangkla doon sa pananaw natin sa tunay na kahalagahan, sa tunay na katuturan ng kalayaan. If we enjoy our freedom, if we enjoy our democracy, then we should allow others enjoy it too. Okay? It advocates anti-enslavement. It promotes spread of liberal ideas. May mga makapagong ideya. We have to allow ourselves, we have to open ourselves to new ideas, because if these new ideas would help us improve ourselves, would help us improve our community, then be it. We have to understand these liberal ideas. So this is the contribution of the Kartilya ng Katipunan to Philippines, to the grand narrative of Philippine history. Now, I'll ask each one of you. Imagine Jacinto. You look at Jacinto at young age, at very young age, he was able to contribute something good, something great for the country. And we have to ask ourselves too, at my age now, what have I done? What have I contributed to my country and to the world as a whole? Sa edad ko ngayon, ilang taon na kayo? Kayo nasa 18 na, no? 18 na ba kayo? Class kayo ba 18 na?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 19 years old si 19 years old itong si Emilio Jacinto. Now, we have to ask ourselves. Ako, medyo matanda na, 34. At age of 34, ano na nagawa ko sa bansang Pilipinas? At your age, ano na nagagawa mo para sa bansang Pilipinas? And I think there's one thing that you could do best now, to study well. Okay? To study well. You study well. Una, yan ang pangarap ng magulang mo sa'yo. Pangalawa, yung edukasyon na iyan, itong edukasyon na ito magbibigay sa'yo ng kaalaman na kailanganin mo sa buhay pagkatapos ng kolehiyo. At yung kaalaman mo tutunan mo sa eskwelahan, makakatulong sa'yo para maging miyembro kang may ambag sa iyong sariling lipunan. We always have to ask ourselves that question. What can I do? What is that something good or something great, even if simple, that I can do for my country, that I can do for my community? Huwag mo na isipin si country, sabihin mo na ang komunidad mo. Anyway, ang community mo ay kabilang sa ating nasyon, kabilang sa ating bansa. Isipin mo na lang anong magagawa mo sa barangay mo and others. We have to be inspired by Emilio Jacinto. He died young, but you know, it's not about the age that we died that would measure the quality life that we did, the quality life that we do. It's not the age that measures quality life. Hindi edad mo na namatay ka ang magsisilbing sukat ng kalidad ng buhay na sinabuhay mo. Kundi, ang mga nagawa mo sa kapwa mo, ang mga nagawa mo sa lipunan mo, ang siyang magdidikta kung yung buhay na yan ay may kalidad o wala. Pwedeng mamatay tayo ngayon, pwedeng mamatay ka at your young age, but hindi ibig sabihin kaagad na wala kang nagawang mabuti sa lipunan. Ang laging sukat ng kalidad ng buhay ay yung nagawa mo noong mga panahon na ikaw ay nabubuhay, hindi ang edad mo kung kailan ka namatay. Okay? At 23 he died. But at that young age, imagine, he did so many things. He did so many good things. He did so many great things, okay, for our country, for the Katipunan, for our democracy now, for the freedom that we enjoy now. Okay? So we now proceed to the question and answer before we end our class. Any questions? Okay, ang tanong ni Reginine, Sir, ipopost nyo rin po ba yung PowerPoint ng Kartilya at Gunita ng Himagsikan? Yes. I'll upload it after our class. Okay, I'll upload it after our class so you could also read and you could also study the material. Okay? Please prepare for the examination. Okay, all questions are in objective test type. Ibig sabihin, multiple choice, meron identification of sources, and any other types of tests. The secret is for you, please include in your review, okay, the assessments you completed in our class, and at the same time, the quizzes you have completed. Because the questions in the quizzes and the activities in the assessment may be part of the prelim examination. Okay, any other question? Please type it in the chat box if you can't listen to me well. Sir, ilan po ba yung items ng exam sa USS? It's usually a 100 item test. Okay, 100 po siya. Okay, 100 items. Okay. Tingnan natin ng try natin mag-review. May klase na ba kayo? Wala pa. May klase ba kayo? Try natin mag-review ha. Okay, pa-review po sa inyo. Kulang kasi tayo ng time. Ito, review lang saglit. Ay pa, sige. I-try natin ito. Okay lang ba? Mag-extend tayo? Okay lang? Okay lang sa inyo?
Okay lang po, sir.
Okay, sige lang para mag-sample
Opo, sir.
Okay, mag-sample lang tayo ng question. Okay, halimbawa ito. Halimbawa itong mga tanong na ito, mag-quiz-bee tayo. Halimbawa ito. Which Philippine province was first liberated from Spanish rule? Anong sa tingin niyang sagot?
Cavite.
The answer is Cavite. That is correct. The answer is Cavite. Okay. We proceed to the next question. Why was the Tejeros Convention called upon? Nabasa niyo to dun sa document na sinaraw ninyo. To impeach Bonifacio's leader of KKK, elect of leaders for the new revolutionary government, commute the sentence of banishment to Andres Bonifacio and Procopio Bonifacio, or bridge the increasing gap between the Magdiwang and the Magdalo factions. What is your answer?
Sir.
Letter?
Sir B.
Okay. Okay, let's check natin kung tama si letter D. Okay, letter D is correct. Like smiling baby. Next question. As a lesson from Aguinaldo's Gunita ng Himagsikan, which issue affecting contemporary leaderships were caused by or rooted from the past? A. Graft and corruption. B. Individualism and power play. C. Political violence and killings. D. Power struggle and lack of unity.
Letter D po.
Okay, good. Letter D is correct. Next question. Who was the first advisor to President Emilio Aguinaldo in 1898? Emilio Jacinto, Ambrosio Bautista, Apolinario Mabini, Baldomero Aguinaldo. Check natin kung tama. Apolinario Mabini ba o mali? Hindi siya. Ito hindi pa sa atin na-discuss ito. Ang 1898, nung ito kasi first advisor, una sa Apolinario Mabini, pero nung dineclare, i-discuss pa lang natin kasi ito, pero wala to sa exam. Nung dineclare ang Philippine Republic, first Philippine Republic, ito sa Ambrosio Bautista. Okay? Aralin natin Declaration of Independence later. Okay, wag mo i-skip natin yan kasi skip natin yan kasi wala naman yan sa exam. Wala. Yung iba wala sa exam. Okay? So, ganun ang example ng multiple choice tayo and others. So, I hope that you will prepare for your exam. Okay? And if you have any other questions, just have to message me. Later, after lunchtime, I'll upload the PowerPoint presentation spot for Kartilya and that of Gunita, no? Para pag-aralan ninyo. Okay? Okay ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So that will be next week exam ninyo. Then right after that, I'll compute your grades and I'll upload your grades in our new elements para malaman ninyo yung inyong mga prelim grades. Okay? So thank you for listening and thank you for having this time or for attending our class. And I hope that you will still do the same as we go through finishing this semester or finishing this course. Okay? So happy lunchtime.
Sir, ilang oras po yung exam kapag? Or
Usually
minutes?
1.5 hour.
Sige po, sir.
Sir,
1.5 hour. 1.5 hours ang exam. Sa lahat ng subjects iyon. Tapos usually 100 items bawat subject.
I thank you, sir.
Tapos meron kayong schedule. Merong i-release schedule kung kailan i-detect yung nasabing exam. Okay?
Sige po, sir.
Okay. Okay then, goodbye everyone.
Yes,
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay, ingat.